morning, everybody. Wow, what an amazing turnout. I want to welcome all of you to Optimove Connect 2025 again. And I want to thank Ronnie and the amazing marketing team for the great job that they have done. Let's give it up for them. So, we have something like 300 people here that are non-Optimovers, and that's really exciting. Let's enjoy the next 2 days. For us, this is like a business community that unites CRM marketers together. So basically, it's kind of like jump. So my session is going to be about positionless marketing, which you're seeing it all over the place, and probably some of you ask yourselves, what the heck is it? So I'll break it down for you, and I'll explain what it is. And positionless marketing is something that started as an idea last year, and we believe now it's going to become a movement. So this was me here last year doing the same talk about positionless marketing, but just started as something pretty novel, something that we thought was cool to present, and then we saw over the past 12 months how powerful it could be. So now we're actually doubling down on positionless marketing. So let's start kind of like where it all started. Last year, the entire session was about basketball, but I'm going to just start with basketball again because this is what inspired me to think about positionless marketing. And whether you know basketball or not, basketball traditionally was played as a game of fixed positions, right? You see it here on the chart. There's like 5 positions: a point guard, a shooting guard, a center, power forward, small forward, right? So they're ranked 1 through 5, typically the shortest player to the tallest player. And every person in the team had their position. That's how the game was played in the past. In the last, let's say, 15 years, a shift has started happening for multiple reasons that I'm not going to go into today. But that shift basically created positionless basketball, where instead of having fixed positions, players today, they have a game that's a lot more fluid, a lot more versatile. So versatility is kind of like the emphasis of how it works. And what happens in basketball today, it's much more exciting to watch. And teams like the Golden State Warriors that adapted positionless first are became obviously a franchise, kind of like a legend, and created amazing legacy. So this thing in basketball kind of like inspired me because I love basketball. I watch basketball all the time. Kind of like inspired me to think about it. If there's a space where you can see a 7-footer like Giannis Antetokounmpo can kind of like run court to court and dunk and play make and do all of those amazing things that were never done before, what could this mean for businesses? And in the past 12 months, kind of like after establishing this last year, I kind of like started seeing positionless, all over the place. And what I've realized is that being positionless has always been a winning strategy. And multiple examples came around, right? So it started with basketball, and for me, to give you a good example, I want to talk about the player that epitomizes the notion of positionless. And that player is a Serbian player called Nikola Jokić. He's arguably the best player on the planet today by many, many people. And the funny thing about him, he was actually the 41st overall pick. So nobody saw it coming. Nobody thought he was going to be good. He was hardly drafted to the NBA to begin with. And he looks, although he's 7 foot, right? He's really tall, but he looks like the last guy you're going to pick in a park game. He's not that muscular. He's a bit wobbly. Like he doesn't look like somebody who's going to be the top player, like a Michael Jordan type of a player. So Nikola Jokić is a big man, right? So 7 feet. So you would expect him to be a very good rebounder. And indeed, he's top 5 in the NBA in rebounds. So he's number 3 in rebounds after Sabonis and who's the other one? Yeah, Anthony Towns. So he's the 3rd rebounder, which is expected, right? The big man, you expect a big man to be the 3rd in rebounds. Maybe you also expect a big man to do a lot of scoring. So Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and players like that were really high scorers. So Nikola Jokić is also 3rd in scoring, top 5 scoring in the NBA. But what's really, really crazy and very exciting to understand is that Nikola Jokić is also one of the best passers in the NBA. So not only that he rebounds and scores, he facilitates. He's actually a pass-first type of a player. So he's number 2 in assists per game in the NBA. Now, if you don't know basketball, you can think about this like one person being the best singer on the planet, the best dancer on the planet, and the best actor on the planet. It's unheard of. It's really hard to achieve this thing. And he epitomizes the notion of being positionless. Like, people would never do that. The entire offense runs through Nikola Jokić. So that's basketball. And I was like, yeah, and then somebody walked up to me, Pini, it's also in football. I was like, what? I mean, international football, right? Not American football. And international football is the most popular game on the planet. And in football, it's called total football, right? So total football is basically the same as positionless basketball. You're seeing a picture here of Johan Cruyff. Johan Cruyff is the Dutch national superstar. He was one of the players that embodied that approach in the 1974 World Cup. It was a system developed in the late 60s Ajax teams in Holland. They won a lot of games, and essentially what this means is that players are not fixed, they're not rigid in one position. Defenders attack, attackers defend. If one player chooses to go to another position and another player fills it up, it emphasizes versatility, it emphasizes fast decision making and working as a team. So I was like, wow, it's also in football, that's crazy. And by the way, if you think about the Barcelona Football Club with tiki-taka style of play, Johan Cruyff was the coach of Barcelona, and one of the players was Pep Guardiola, who then became the coach. This entire thing of the Barcelona style of play started with that, with being positionless. Next up is the field of martial arts, which I'm a big martial arts buff. I do some boxing, nowadays. I used to do karate as a child. I love martial arts. And in martial arts, there was always a debate. So I don't know if there's some, martial arts geeks. So Bruce Lee in the old films, it was always about whether Kung Fu is better than karate, right? So Bruce Lee was being Chinese. He was always offended by the Japanese, that saying that karate is the best, and he was mastering Kung Fu. There's all these debates about whether Muay Thai is better than kickboxing, or boxing is better than grappling, or Jiu-Jitsu is better than whatever. All of these fields of martial arts, it's typically a discussion that kids would have, right? Kids would debate who can kick whose ass when it comes to some kind of a discipline. And in 1993, the UFC started, and basically they brought all the different fighters from all the different disciplines into one place, and let's see what happens, whether a karate master can beat a boxer. And what happened is that it very quickly proved that people who are mastering just one discipline were not good enough. And this guy, a Brazilian guy called Royce Gracie, who masters Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so he can basically take you down to the floor and finish you down there, but he can also fight standing up. He was the only one that was actually versatile. He was the only fighter that could do it all. And he obviously won and got a lot of fame. And today's MMA, the modern MMA, is mixed martial arts. The name says it, right? It's mixed martial arts. You need to you need to be versatile and master a few disciplines to really be effective. Karate alone, right, when you just stand up like this, it's not really effective. So next up, music. So this is Phineas O'Connell, who's Billie Eilish's brother, and he's behind a lot of Billie Eilish's hits. But I have nothing to do with music, apart from being a fan. But in recent years, I come from Israel, and growing up and being in Israel, we'd never had pop songs that sounded like the ones in America or the UK. Never. We had like nice songs, nice lyrics, we like the words, it's in Hebrew, yada, yada, yada. But it was never the same level of quality. And in the past, I would say 7-8 years, all of a sudden, really high quality pop songs started to happen in Israel. And I'm sure in other small markets as well. I don't know, I'm sure it's a global phenomenon. And I asked myself kind of like, why? And I started asking a lot of people who are in music. And the thing is, it's essentially because of the positionless musician. So if you think about it, to produce a hit, let's say in the 70s, right? You need, if you want a sound of a trumpet, right? You need a trumpeter that's really good. So maybe you need to go to New Orleans, or you need to be in some kind of an ecosystem that you have access to that level of talent. People who play specific. If you want to set up Guns N' Roses, you need to know Slash. that can play the guitar like he does. Those people don't come that often. Like, it's not that easy, right? Today, a music producer like Phineas O'Connell sits in his bedroom with 3 laptops and a keyboard, can basically orchestrate an entire track on his own. He can sample different types of instruments. He can compose, he can create the melody, he can do it all being one person. And what that did, it democratized the quality of music production to many small markets. That's why in Israel we have a guy called Jordi, who's the equivalent of Phineas O'Connell in our culture, and he's signed on the biggest hits. So that's music. Next up is just an historical example from Aviation. So I don't know if you know that, but in the past, you would need 5 pilots in the cockpit to fly a commercial airplane. You need a pilot, a co-pilot, a flight engineer, a navigator, and a radio engineer. You need all of those people in the cockpit, right? This is a picture of the old cockpit. You see all 5 of them. Today, you need just 1. You have 2 for safety reasons, but you need just 1. One pilot can do the navigation, the radio thing, the engineering, all of it together. So again, positionless pilots can do more. The flights are safer, easier to run, cheaper. Not necessarily cheaper, but it's another story. So we've seen all of these examples from across different disciplines, and we know that positionless, being versatile, is something very effective. But is it also a winning strategy in marketing? And I say obviously yes. And I'm going to break it down for you, and here's why. So in the past year, we've spoken to a lot of our clients, potential clients, many people from the industry, and we got a lot of different quotes from them and tried to understand. So I'm going to weave in some of the quotes in my rationale here. So first up is Juanita from Sephora. So Juanita from Sephora in the US, she's the VP of CRM and personalization. So she's saying, I'm just going to read the stuff that's in bold. She's saying, because we've been doing really smart things and learning and earning all kinds of awards in personalization for many, many years, but it breaks everyone's back to do it. She's like, how can we make this scalable? Like, it's so hard to execute all of these campaigns. So we're asking ourselves, what's the biggest problem of marketing today? What's the hardest thing to do? And I say, it's execution. Marketing's biggest challenge is execution. Marketing has changed. The bar for engagement is at the all-time high, but teams have smaller budgets, fewer resources, and higher demand than ever before. Our customers expect us to deliver personalized experiences. This is hard to do. It's hard to execute. At the same time, we still have an economic crisis. Our teams are not as big as they used to be. We have less resources, less systems. Execution is killing us. To further emphasize that, Albina from Grove is saying in the middle of a conversation, she's like, yeah, campaigns that work, yeah, exactly. But at the same time, many campaigns that work. I need a lot of them. It's not enough to just have 1 or 2 or 5 or 10. I need to execute that thing again and again and again. And the question is, what's hindering execution? Why isn't execution easier to do? And there's one villain in this story, and the villain is the assembly line. The assembly line itself, this is how we typically do work in many fields of humanity, right? Traditional marketing operates like an assembly line where every team member is stuck waiting, right? A marketer is going to write a brief, and then they're going to send it to an analyst that's going to, pull up some segments or audiences, and then they're going to send it to creatives to do some assets, visual assets and copy assets. Then they're going to send it to somebody who does the execution and orchestrates the whole thing and admins it in different systems and sets it up. And then after it's done, you're going to need an analyst to analyze what happened. Like, this process just goes through so many different workstations, and everybody's stuck waiting. Creatives wait for data. Campaign managers wait for assets. Strategies wait for performance reports. This process, we didn't have any choice, right? We had to do it like this, but it's full of bottlenecks. We all hate it, and it's killing marketing execution. This is basically our villain. This is what the positionless marketing movement aims to solve. This thing over there, the assembly line. So what we propose is to cut that line, cut the line with positionless marketing. Cut the line, and basically we're looking at what Jokić is telling us. So Jokić from SodaStream is telling us he works for SodaStream, who's owned by PepsiCo, and then he says, and when we show them, the PepsiCo people, that the same person does the job of 3 different teams, they fell in love with it. And he says again, the data that sits together with marketing, it's usually separate. When it's together, one person can do more. So this is essentially the power of positionless marketing, right? The power of positionless marketing is to break the assembly line and turn every marketer into a master of execution. And we think about the positionless marketer as a person who possesses 3 key powers: data power, creative power, and optimization power. This wasn't possible in the past, right? Optimove was always about giving marketers data power. Access to data, ability to segment, get some insights, do my own research, not being dependent on other departments. At the same time, creative power, that was never something we could do. But now with Gen AI, we can actually help you create visual assets, help you update and change some of the pictures in an email template, help you write copy, help you optimize copy. There's a ton coming up. You're going to see my session is pretty lofty. You'll see Shai's session, who's very practical and on to the point on all of those capabilities. So creative power and optimization power. After something runs, how do I understand what happened? How do I analyze it? How do I make it better the next time? How do I optimize it automatically using AI? So these are the 3 key powers we're aiming to help. So let's define the positionless marketer. The positionless marketer, starting from basketball, and from the world of basketball, we're bringing this inspired by basketball into the business world. The positionless marketer is a marketer who transcends traditional roles, seamlessly combining data, content, design, and execution to drive impact without being confined to a single specialty. Great, but is this just an Optimove thing? Like, are we the only ones that saying, we call it positionless market? Are we the only ones that saying that people need to be more versatile? Are we the only ones thinking that? So the answer is no. This is not only in professional marketing, it's also in any other profession. This is a global trend. So Josh Bersin, he's an HR guru, somebody who's a top LinkedIn influencer. People in HR know the name for sure. He recently wrote an article about the rise of the super worker. So the super worker is an employee, a worker, a professional, using AI, using automation, using the power of AI to essentially be much more versatile, be able to perform various tasks, be able to do all of those things in the workplace. So this is like, and you probably all feel it, right? It's not just, this is happening right now, and it's happening in all fields. We're talking about marketing here, but every work is produced as an assembly line. In every line of work, if people can be more versatile, more positionless, if they can do more tasks themselves or autonomously within their teams, that work will get done faster. That work will be executed in a smoother fashion. And of course, AI is like the Iron Man suit, right? We put it on ourselves. We just play with AI to put my face there, but it's not something you should typically go very deep into. Yes, so fine. So now hopefully you understand what's positionless marketer, right? And when you see here the home of position, hopefully now you understand what it means. It's not that complicated, right? It's like us being more versatile and not being stuck in one position. Great. And AI is the thing that gives us the power to do it, right? Awesome. But is this approach practical? Probably a lot of you have some questions and you're saying, yeah, you know, I'm skeptical. I've seen it before. So the skeptics, right? You're probably asking yourself, is this what marketers and businesses want? Do marketers want liberation? Does liberation mean more work for me? Are you saying you're going to give us all more work? Do I trust my data team to make their own graphics as a brand? Write their own web page? Do they want to have a single person have all that level of control? Do marketers want more to do? Probably some of you have those questions in your head when you heard all of this. And all of this is true. So but my answer to that is basically the A team. How many of you know this show or actually watched it? Yeah, us older guys. So this was a show from, I think, the 80s, an American show about basically a team of like 4 people, and each of them had like a superpower, really distinct capability. One of them was strong, you can guess who. Another one was the leader, the kind of like the architect, the one that's like coming up with all the plans. Another one was a pilot. Another one was a charmer. But each one of them, whilst they had a very specific speciality, they could also do more things, right? So they could also be versatile, and that's why they were the A team. They were like this one small team that could get really complicated stuff done. So the notion of positionless doesn't mean your departments will go away. Doesn't mean we're not going to have an analytics department. Doesn't mean we're not going to have a graphics or a studio. It doesn't mean we're not going to have all of those departments. It just means that each one of them will be more positionless. So the graphic designers, they would be able to do some data analysis tasks, which are simple ones. The high-stake, complicated tasks that require deep specialization will still go to the specialist. But we're not going to harass them as much. There's not going to be that level of dependency. So if 80% of the things I need to do, I can do myself, I become a lot more autonomous. I can get a lot of things done much, much faster. So you should ask yourself, not if like, oh, we'll be positionless or we're not going to be positionless. Can you be more positionless than you are today? If your team masters today 3 capabilities, can you get to the 4th? Can you be versatile enough to cover one more use case yourselves? So that's the answer for that. And you ask yourself, why now? So Victor Hugo, who's a French writer, said once, nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come. And I and we deeply believe that the idea of the positionless marketer, this is the time. We've always pitched people to be more versatile, but the Gen AI revolution didn't happen. It's happening now, right? You all feel it yourselves in your day-to-day. How many of you feel more versatile than you did 2 years ago? I do. I mean, I'm doing a lot of things that I didn't do before with Gen AI, and I'm sure you do as well. So this is really cool. And for us, we started last year. Now we're going to double down. We really believe that it was an idea, and now it's going to turn into a movement, the movement of the positionless marketers that don't want to work in an assembly line, don't want to wait, want the autonomy, want the ability to do more things themselves, be more versatile, and get stuff done. Do the execution themselves as much as they can. Yeah, and we'll rely on specialists. When we have a high, lofty task that we need to do, we're going to go to the specialist. So to wrap it up, welcome to the era of the positionless marketer. When we were kids, we were told we could be anything, but what they meant was we could be just one thing. Optimove is building the future where you can do anything and be everything. Thank you. Okay, so now we're done with the positionless marketer, and I got 2 more slides for you about Optimove in 2024. So what we call the State of the Union. So in 2024, we had a really strong year. We were ranked as top visionary by Gartner and one to watch by Snowflake. We released a lot of product innovation that you can check out over there in the Optimove space. We've launched OptiPromo, OptiLive, WhatsApp and Web Inbox as new channels, and you can check out all of those new products over there. We've been a profitable company since 2012, and we were really profitable this year as well with strong ARR growth, and we've crossed the 500 people mark this year as well, which is super exciting for us. And last but not least, we've made an acquisition this year, an acquisition of Adact. So the Adact acquisition, this is Kalev, the founder of Adact. He's going to be on this stage tomorrow morning, providing the kicker for day 2. And he's a super talented guy who built a great product that's very slick and customizable. He's Estonian. We're going to be building an office in Estonia with talented people over there. And Adact brings you gamification marketing. You'll be able to be more positionless with the ability to create gamified campaigns inside your Optimove. And the cool thing is that you can go to the gamification stand over there, and you can in here on site you can get a gamified campaign ready and done, and you can leave Optimove Connect with a gamified campaign. It's that easy to do, right? And we have our specialist over there to help you do that. So thank you very much. If you wanna talk to me, you can DM me on the app, and we can. If you have questions about positionless or anything new, we can chat. We can grab coffee. So feel free to DM me on the app. And thank you very much.